This is the sluggo, slant and go.
Casey the Beef Cregan, it's Wednesday. I'm here talking to you. I decided to go without the headset at the last second. We talked about what we're going to do the first show, and I changed it all
up. Hey, that's the beauty of our show, right? We're never really sure what we're going to do, what we're going to talk about, and how we're going to even sound. It's great.
Yeah, no doubt. So I hope it comes out okay on the podcast version, and it sounds like you can hear me fine. So that's really cool. For everybody listening, Marty Coleman, Kyle, Texas. I run Seldom Used Reserve, and we'll have more about that later. He is Casey the Beef Cregan, the man who just in West Orange, New Jersey, who just wanted to wish his wife a happy Mother's Day and started a whole hashtag trending of Saint Laura, which she really appreciated. It was nice to have a brief combo with Mrs. Cregan, the younger Mrs. Cregan last Sunday. So hope she had a great Mother's Day.
Yeah, it was a good day for everybody. You know, she's not my mom. That's what I always say, but she is the mother of my child, and she's got two other ones as well. And the older ones cooked her dinner, which was nice, but also it's helped save me a little bit. I got her a really nice breakfast, got her coffee in bed. You know, and the younger, our son together, he whined and cried all day. So, I mean, it was a perfect day, really. Nothing different.
Yeah, it's going to be Mother's Day without whining and crying, right? I also made my wife's breakfast, but I do that semi-regularly since we've been home working, so it's a lot easier than in the morning when we both got to commute. So,
well, you're an early bird too, right? So that's a nice little surprise. I'm sure she wakes up too
yeah, she appreciates her breakfast. It's about the only thing I can cook too. So now I clean the grill and get it ready and clean it when it's done. But she actually cooks on the grill because what'll happen is I'll start having a couple beers and say I'll let it cook a little longer, and we'll be eating bricks out there. It feels like sometimes. We started a little late tonight, and that's okay. We roll with the punches. We ain't making $1 million doing this. We're doing this for fun and laughs and giggles and the friends we've made. So that's all good. But and we got not a lot to talk about tonight. Kevron's checking in. Hey, Kevron, where's he at? Cope, right? Cope, South Carolina.
Cope, yeah, absolutely. It's always good to get his message. So, hey, Kevron.
We appreciate you, Kevron. All right, we're going to start off with a little recruiting updates here now. Notable commitments. There weren't a lot this week, May. I'm sure in June we'll be talking about commitments a lot more throughout the summer. And I always have to give the disclaimer on the names. This is not on purpose. I'm doing the best I can as an old dude. Here we go. First of all, we've got Emarion Harris. He was number 309 overall. I guess he still is. He's a 4-star offensive lineman out of Little Rock, and he went to Arkansas. Now, it's surprising. What is surprising is Arkansas is battling Rutgers, and they're number 12 right now in the recruiting rankings. The Arkansas Razorbacks are making a move in the recruiting world.
Yeah, I think that's a little SEC play too, and they had a really pretty good season, at least at the beginning of the year last year. They got a lot. They got the old offensive line coach from Georgia, who is a very likable character. Not sure how good a head coach he is, but kids seem to like him and gravitate to him. Heck, we had a Clemson guy transfer there, had a really good year, signed a free agent deal with Baltimore. So I think Arkansas is trending upwards, definitely. And obviously getting a good recruiting class is going to do nothing but help them.
Well, after Chad Morris, they couldn't trend downward any further.
That's true.
It's pretty low as you can get. And the only other actual recruit who hasn't signed a letter of intent before, we'll get to that in a minute, Holden Stays, number 268 overall, is a tight end from Atlanta. He's going to Notre Dame, who's now number 4 in the recruiting rankings. Now, if you listen to our buddy Palk on his 5 Foot Nothing, 100 Nothing podcast, he was really excited by this guy and went to look and saw he was number 268. And, top 250 is really good. So I'm not saying he's not a good player, but I don't know that he's a program changer.
No, I don't know if he's a program changer, but I think the point that Palk made in it was that they've had nothing but really good tight ends. So, this is just according to film and an opinion from one pundit. He believes that this guy checks all the boxes for the next one. They have Michael Mayer, who's a very good tight end. Clemson knew all about him in the first matchup. And now they got another highly rated kid out of Atlanta, and they're going nationwide to go grab kids.
Now, I don't have any stats on this, but Georgia is full of recruits, obviously, with Georgia and Clemson and other schools all over that state. It's just they are just full of recruits. I think they have more top. Well, Texas probably has more just because of the sheer number of kids, but per capita, I believe Georgia's probably at the top.
It's amazing how many kids that you constantly hear are from Georgia, from schools all over the place. Not even talking about Georgia and Georgia Tech. You look, obviously, this kid's going to Notre Dame. You see, obviously, Clemson has a ton. Tennessee's got a ton. Florida even has a ton of Georgia kids. Florida State. It's just like, where do they manufacture all these kids? Because there's a lot of them. You're right.
Alabama and Auburn too. They got a fair share. And Georgia. We talk mainly football here, but Georgia also pumps out the baseball players, right? Seth Beer and softball. We can say with Clemson softball, but Seth Beer is from Georgia. There's just incredible amount of athletes coming out of that state right now.
Sure
which is good because it's close. All right. Alabama's going on a different route here. Alabama's still recruiting, but they're recruiting guys from the 2018 class. We had Jamison Williams last week. We talked about last couple of weeks, transfer from Ohio State, a 4-star, number 82 overall, transferred in to Alabama because I guess the wide receiver room was really crowded at Ohio State and not so crowded in Alabama. I have heard that may be one of the, I hate to say shortcomings because they're always really, really good, but one of the areas that Alabama is looking to improve is their wide receiver core, because they all went in the first round, I think. But that's kind of scary to think. Not only that, last week they got Henry To'o, a 4-star, who's number 44 in the 2018 class from De La Salle in California by way of the University of Tennessee. So Alabama is not done recruiting in 2018 yet, apparently, as they racked up their second 2018 recruit here in the summer of 2021.
Yeah, it's crazy. Saban even kind of had a similar notion to Dabo, whereas he wasn't going to necessarily go the transfer portal route. I know they have kind of delved into it a little bit, but they really rely on their recruiting, which has been spectacular over his entire tenure. But the fact that these two guys were available, he's like, you know what? Everyone else is doing it. Why don't I get two of arguably the best ones on the market? And the rich get richer. Man, it's going to be funny to see, but To'o is a load, man. He's a heck of a player, and now he's going to go to a winning culture because he obviously just left the opposite of winning culture.
The opposite of winning. That would be Tennessee. All right, that's really it on the recruiting tonight. Unless you have something else, we've been mentioning the same guys over and over, going here, going there. I thought we tried something a little different. We started a little late tonight, so I thought we'll keep it short. I plan on keeping it short anyway.
Yeah, I think to go kind of the Clemson way now. Just kind of, I know we're doing Clemson Minute in a little while, but the Clemson way, I think the June 1st thing can't come soon enough. There's so many people, so many of these kids on Twitter are talking about June 1st, and even a few of them that are going to head to Clemson early will literally say that on Twitter. Can't wait. June 1st can't come soon enough. So I think this June 1st, when the dead period lifts, the NCAA mandated dead period lifts, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of movement. I know you said it in your description for tonight's show. May leads to June, and June, I think we're going to have a lot of talk about recruiting, and and signings and visits, and hopefully get JP back on here to kind of discuss, maybe get a little inner workings of some of these kids as these visits and camps start taking shape.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of activity around Clemson in June, but also the other
everyone, yeah,
because that's when it all opens up. You know, as Clemson fans, it's just been like radio silence for a year, right? A year and a couple of months. It's been really scary, except for Mr. Klubnik, basically. So yes, June needs to get here soon, and we'll have plenty to talk about, Clemson and otherwise. And there is someone we're going to talk about who's starting to take a few trips in June. Now, this is the quarterback that everybody wants, and I think last count he's visiting somewhere between 75 and 142 of the Division I programs. We're talking about, of course, Arch Manning. And this is one that I've seen on Twitter that the Clemson fans, for obvious reasons, a generational quarterback, are very, very interested in. And I'm going to be interested, right? He's from New Orleans, and he's got, a couple of uncles. One played at Tennessee, one played at Ole Miss, and who knows where he's going to end up. This is one to follow for sure.
Yeah, Arch is a generational talent along the same lines as Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, and heck, he may translate to be even better if that's such a thing, or if that's blasphemy for some Clemson fans out there. But yeah, he's gonna take a lot of visits, but Clemson's on the docket. So those Clemson fans out there, myself included, you got to kind of tilt the head a little bit and say, there's a chance at least, right? But I think this one's going to be long. His granddaddy went to Ole Miss too. Don't forget that. So there's going to be some pull in the SEC. I think he's going to have upwards of 75 offers, probably, if not more. He just has all of it. He's got the height, he's got the arm strength, and he's only a junior currently. So it's going to be a race to the finish. Is he only a sophomore? No, he's a junior currently, right?
Yeah.
He's a junior. It's going to be a race to the finish, and it's going to be a lot of cliche phrases like I just said, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And heck, Clemson's involved. That's all you can ask for, Clemson people.
Yeah, he's a 23 guy, so theoretically.
I know. I'm trying to do the math. I know the numbers, and I'm like, what year are we in now? 21 seniors. Then he's, yeah, okay.
And then he'll reclassify, and it'll all be for nothing. Yeah, if we can get Klubnik in next year and Manning in 23, that'd be quite the haul. But you know how it goes in football recruiting. We're gonna need somebody in 24 too. John Chansey's asking over under on 2.5 Clemson commits in the first 2 weeks of June. I'll go 2.5 in the month of June. I don't know about the first 2 weeks of June.
I'm going over, John, just because I'm an eternal optimist when it comes to Clemson.
Well, here's my thought: is Clemson has to extend the offer. So
yeah, that's true too.
Reminder: about 12 may want to commit, but I don't know if they're going to. They're so selective in their recruiting now.
Well, don't forget. JP said that they had one on the hook that they told that not to sign until June. So we're still unknown as to who that is. So that's going to be something.
Probably one right there. I didn't think about that. I'm gonna have to change my answer. I got to the end of the show, right, John? Hey, and John Chansey, tell us how the game went. You were able to make the show tonight, so I assume it was a rout, and you run ruled them, and you're here to talk to us. New comment coming in, Case. Save your breath. The Freeman factor will land Arch in South Bend. Yeah, he'll be there. Didn't Clemson play there in like 24? He'll be there. He'll be there.
This is water. I'm not drinking the same stuff Palk's drinking, apparently.
Oh, Palk, I hope you're listening. I hope you're listening. We went over your tight end recruit. That's all world. We talked about him, so you'll have to listen from the beginning of the show. All right, and he's having a good time. It's good to see you having a good time, Palk. And right out. Oh, sorry to hear that.
Bummer.
Well, talk him into not rescheduling it for next Wednesday or any Wednesday after that. Thank you. We appreciate we need our comments. Dang it, we need our comments up. All right. Something I had on the list for last week. I've learned a lesson. I need to spread these things out more because my old eyeballs, I go right through it and I miss it. Is the odds or the odds for Clemson and Georgia came out, and Clemson was a 3-point favorite. Of course, That's upset everybody, every Georgia fan in the world as we sit here in May. No way Clemson beats Georgia, like they said, back a few years ago. I think it's about right? We don't know. We got a new quarterback for Clemson. We've got a veteran team with a good defense coming back. A new quarterback, but I think everybody thinks that DJ is going to step in and be really, really good. I don't know if he's going to be Trevor level as a true as a sophomore, or maybe he is a freshman. But dang COVID. I don't know if he's going to be as good as Trevor early in his career. No Travis Etienne, better on the defensive line. Who knows about the defensive backs? All that said, who knows about Georgia, right? Who knows what they're going to be? Are they going to be good? They lost a lot in the defensive backfield. They lost some players too, and they have some injuries on the offensive side. It wouldn't surprise me to be a lower scoring game, so I think 3 points is probably about right.
I think it's almost taken like it's a Clemson home game, so it's almost a 3-point. It's not. I know it's in Charlotte, but it feels like maybe that's what it's going for. There's even the ticket allotment will probably be half and half. It just feels like that's what the spread is right now. And like you said, it's May, and there's so many unknowns, and my feelings, and I've made them known throughout every podcast I think I've ever been on, regardless. I don't like this preseason nonsense. So this it kind of gets my ire up a little bit that there's even a spread so far, because you and I both know it's going to move at least 3 or 4 times before we get to August. But the unknowns, it is definitely the unknowns. But the thing that kind of made me laugh a little bit at the Clemson -3 is that the known for Clemson quarterback is 2 games. It's a small sample size, but Georgia's got what he played the last 5 games for Georgia and lit it up. So, I know not having George Pickens in the wide receiver room is going to be, so they're not sure what they have at the wide receiver position. They got to pick up a big transfer on the defensive backs from West Virginia. I don't know. And me, eternal pessimist for Clemson. I just see a lot. The running backs, Amir White's back for them. They got the other kid too. The brother of the old Florida State running back, he's back too for another year. So, I think they have some offensive production. They're probably going to try to run the ball too to keep the ball out of DJ's hands. You don't know what Clemson has at running back, really. Lindsay had kind of a down season last year. There's a stable of running backs behind him, but you're not really sure what you're going to get production-wise. You just lost Ches Malusi, who was probably the next guy that you knew the most about anyway. Wide receivers are still unproven. I've been hanging around with you too long, I think, Marty. There's Joseph Ngata. We're still not sure. There was another article put out about him today, and his dad spoke about his abdominal injury. I forget who wrote it, so I apologize for not giving you credit. Ladson, you're not sure. It's young receivers. Offensive line's a remade unit, but apparently supposedly better, according to coach speak. So we'll see. Defensive line should be great for Clemson. Should be great, not good, great. I don't know. -3, sure. Long-winded to say that.
I think you're right. I think it's a crapshoot. I think it's a standard home line given, even though they're in Charlotte, as you said. Yeah. I left that up there so you can see the green line.
Yeah, because when I'm going into my Cregan world here, I can't look at that, or else I'll lose my train of thought.
You're not thinking about lunch, probably, yeah. But
that's funny.
I think it's right. I think it's about right for this time of year. It'll change, I say 300 or 400 times, and it may end up back on 3, right? It goes up and down and around, a 3.5, something like that, just to get people interested, get people to start talking about lines and college football, and hopefully a regular season, or a normal regular season, I should say. And Pauk says, can he get an opinion on the post-spring game preseason rankings? I think that's a shot at you, Case.
His whole show this week was, late in his show he did it because he agrees with me. He and I could just literally yell into a microphone probably for hours about these preseason rankings. It's like the old Simpson thing where an old man yells at clouds. That would be Pauk and I talking about these preseason rankings. Yeah.
Old men yell at preseason rankings.
But he made a point that the teams jumped, like Iowa State jumped and North Carolina jumped, and he brought up a great point about North Carolina, and I think ACC fans and particularly Clemson fans will probably get a kick out of this. I thought was probably the best point of his whole show, and if you get a chance, listen to 5 Foot Nothing, 100 Nothing. But he said the only really returning offensive player is Sam Howell at quarterback. They lost two running backs who were both drafted, and somehow they're better, and two receivers also that were drafted, and somehow they're better. That's kind of the point that I like to make when these preseason rankings are taking shape, because you're just like, really? You jumped in the rankings, you're now ranked 6th, and how, you weren't ranked 6th last year, and you didn't necessarily get better offensively anyway.
Well, you say the same thing, and you kind of did about Clemson and Georgia, and you could say it about Notre Dame, as I pointed out to Pout. They lost their whole entire offensive line and the quarterback who made that whole thing go, and they're just going to act like they're going to be in the playoff again this year. They may, but who knows? Who knows what the quarterback, does? Who knows what happens on the offensive line? My thought is Notre Dame's going to have a good offensive line because they usually do. They get some of those corn-fed Midwestern guys and bulk them up to 320 and road grade. But we don't know. I'm pretty sure Alabama's going to be good just because they're recruiting. But I don't know that Clemson's going to be top of the line, the offensive line works. They may plow through. That's another thing I wanted to say about the Georgia-Clemson game. Whoever loses that is not out of the playoff by any stretch. I mean, if they lose by 30, yeah. But if it's a 27-23 game, whichever way it may go, I don't know that Clemson's going to lose another game. That may be Clemson's undefeated regular season or not. There's always a game or two in there. Never know about injuries. But just in general, I don't know if Clemson is they're going to be favored by what? 14, 17 every other game?
They should, but once again, it kind of leads to the same question. I know we'll talk about this when it gets closer when we talk about preseason rankings, but we don't know really what Florida State's going to be with all the transfers they got in. If they can mesh, they got Mackenzie Milton from UCF, who's on a rebuilt leg, a la Alex Smith in Washington, or formerly in Washington. So we don't know what he's going to be. He could be great if he's anything like he was at UCF. He's going to be fantastic, but we have no idea. We don't know what they're going to be at all. So should Clemson be ranked in the top 5? I don't know. Based on what they have coming back, they lost like 90% of our offensive production between Cornell Powell, Amari Rogers, Etienne, and Trevor. So yes, on paper, and DJ looked fantastic against Notre Dame in the loss, and he looked great bringing them back against Boston College. But this is a new year, man. New players. Dabo says it too. I guess I drink the Kool-Aid because he says it. It's a new team, new players. It's an opportunity from the beginning to start from the beginning and see what you have. And I don't know. I buy into that because you don't know every year. That's the beauty of college football.
My thing on guys like Milton and De'Aaron King is it's great, and I'm not saying De'Aaron King is not a good quarterback, but all the yards and all the touchdowns, he wasn't playing even at Houston. He was playing the AAC schedule, right? He's playing Connecticut and Tulsa and whatever. It's different. Now the ACC is not great. I'm not trying to say they are, but I'm saying it's better than the AAC competition. And Milton from UCF, great. Spring game, nobody can touch him. And I think he's good. Is he going to turn them around and take them from, I don't know the record, but 3 or 4 wins to 9-3 or 10-2, competing against Clemson? I don't think so. And I meant to put that in the rundown, and I forgot. We saw the odds, right, for Clemson to win the ACC. What was it, 18-1? That's something.
Yeah, it was 1 in 850, 85. What was it? 1 8. I don't know. It was crazy. You need 800. You need to bet $800 to win 100.
Yeah. Well, that's 8. I think that's 8-1. So 8-1 in their favor, not
in their favor. 1 to 8 if you're betting.
Yeah, it was backwards. So we saw those odds, and the next team was North Carolina. I think they were 15-2. So
15-2. Yep.
The odds makers are saying, you want to bet on somebody else besides Clemson to win the ACC? Knock yourself out and we'll be glad to pay you if that doesn't happen. And you know what that means? That means nobody besides Clemson is winning the ACC, because those guys aren't giving away money.
No, they don't build small casinos, do they?
And not ugly casinos. Well, some of them are kind of ugly, but not most of them.
Well, they're gaudy. I wouldn't say ugly. They're gaudy.
I don't know. If you go off the strip in Vegas, sometimes you'll. It's been a while. We're trying.
We've been. There's a great place, Palace Station. It's ugly. You're right, but I love it.
It's our kind of place. I saw a comedian there. It'd be chopping beef material if I talked about what this comedian talked about, but it was so funny. I don't even remember. I think it was at Binion's, but it was so great. It was so great. All right, let's get to our Clemson Minute here tonight, Case. Softball team, regular season champs. What a year for the Clemson softball team. They are a lot of fun to watch. And something you told me, I know you don't do this often, but it came true. Those games are so quick. They move so fast. Now, having a team that's, 38-4 or whatever they are, is a lot of fun. It'd be different if they were like 17-23 or something. But they're really good. The games are really quick. There's no reviews. And a lot of fun. Anyway, ACC champs in their first full season, regular season champs.
Regular season champions. They play Georgia Tech tomorrow in the ACC tournament. Georgia Tech beats Syracuse, the Syracuse team that actually took a game from Clemson this past weekend. Valerie Cagle, ACC Freshman of the Year. Oh, no, it's not all. ACC Player of the Year. First ever in the ACC softball to win Freshman of the Year and Player of the Year overall. There's 4 first-teamers, a couple second-teamers, 1 third-teamer. It's been a lot of fun and a great year. I was telling Nelson Wilhite before, it's a single elimination is always tough. Tomorrow, Georgia Tech's obviously hot. They won pretty handily today against Syracuse, a tough Syracuse squad, a squad that really tested Clemson. And so Clemson will be tested tomorrow. Cagle will be on the hill. And as they go for an ACC championship, they got a good draw. They may have to play Virginia Tech, who's a very good team in the semifinals if they get past Georgia Tech, and likely Florida State beyond that. So you're playing with house money at this point. They've had a great year, and let's hope they win the ACC. But we'll see.
If I remember correctly, one of their losses was to Virginia Tech, right?
Yeah.
I remember the 2 to 2.
2 to Duke, 1 to Syracuse. Nelson needs to be here because he's got the dates, the scores. I'm sure Virginia Tech was at least 1, if not 2 of those. But
anyway, they're really good and a lot of fun to watch, and the games are quick. And for my money, I'm watching a baseball game on Sunday, I think it was. 8 pitches into the game, they go into like a 4-minute review of a stupid play, right? And I don't know. I mean, it was a run scored or not scored, but it's just 8 pitches. And we're sitting there for 4 minutes. The pitcher warmed up through 8 pitches and has to stand around for 6 minutes while they go. And this is in Atlanta. This isn't a Boston College thing. While they go to the video review, which I think was in the Arts and Entertainment building across campus somewhere. But anyway. Okay, that's my rant. I was trying to go the whole week without a rant. That's my get off my lawn, Dave.
Well, I saw your Twitter on it, so you got to rehash it here.
8 minutes. 8 pitches. See, I'm all upset now, Cameron. 8 pitches in the game. They're reviewing stuff. I'm like, are you kidding me? And they always get together and decide, we're going to review you. We're going to review you. Oh, one more rant. Well, let me talk about baseball, and then I'll get to this rant. What a strange trip it's been for this Clemson baseball team. You think they're going to lose and they win. You think they're going to win, they lose. You don't know what's going to happen, and something crazy happens. But if you'd have told me 2 weeks ago, I also put this on Twitter, so you don't have to watch the show. Just follow the Twitter. It's been a strange trip. If you'd have told me 2 weeks ago or 10 or 11 days ago, they'd have come out of 3 games against Louisville, 3 against Georgia Tech, and 1 against South Carolina, and be 4-3 in that 7, I'd have taken it right away. Now, it was beautiful one weekend. It was ugly the next weekend, and last night was really good. I went over South Carolina. But what a weird season the baseball team's having.
It really is, and I don't know if they found their identity. That old phrase, that old cliche that people probably way overused, and I'm overusing it here. But they haven't. They've battled some injuries. Sam Hall, who I think is the straw that stirs the drink. I'll get that phrase right one time. Missed a majority of the season. He's come back and he's kind of leveled them out and really helped the offense and kind of solidified that lineup. The pitching staff, you never know what you're going to get from the guys. They've kind of settled in, but Clemson's still missing Davis Sharp, who was the Friday night starter to start the year. You're right, though, with the 4-3 in the last two series plus a midweek game. But that 4-3 is kind of skewed because they swept a team that on paper they shouldn't have, right? And they got swept by a team that maybe they lose the series, but you don't think they're going to get swept. They battled in that Georgia Tech series, but the way that they battled against Louisville, you figure if they battled half as well as they did in that, they were at least going to take a game or two at Georgia Tech. You know, the walk-off game, one of the games, the middle game, didn't help, and then they battled again last night. So you're right. It is a strange trip because you never know what team you're going to get, and that stinks to say. But they're rising. They're in that last 4 in, according to D1Baseball.com, as a 3 seed somewhere. So, hey, if they can get in the dance, you never know. If this team gets hot, gets healthy, they got the arms to do it. They got the bats to certainly make some waves. We'll see. You never know. I'm not saying Omaha, but maybe make some waves in the regional.
Well, that is the difference in baseball. As I wrote for Clemson Junkies a couple of weeks ago, it's not like football where some 5-5 team is playing Alabama in the last game of the season or whatever. Baseball teams are notorious for being streaky, and this is a streaky team. What I was going to complain about baseball is the hit by pitch rule. I just don't understand it. Keir Meredith is standing in the middle of the batter's box in my mind. Now, of course, his hands are closer to the plate, but he's not up on the plate. He's not Baron Hunt trying to get hit every other pitch. That's before your time. But he's standing in the batter's box, and the pitcher throws a pitch that hits him in the leg or something, and they called him out. They didn't even call a strike. They called him out. So instead of going to first base, he's called out. And I'm thinking, why is it his responsibility? And I know that's a baseball rule, but I think it's got to be changed. Why on earth do you make a batter 12 inches, I'm exaggerating, 8 inches from the plate, jump out of the way, and when he gets hit by a pitch, they penalize him and not the pitcher that threw it at him? Theoretically, the pitcher could intentionally do that. Now, I know if the batter, jumped out of the way, they wouldn't call him out. They would give him first base. But the point is, the pitcher has made a mistake, and you're penalizing the batter. Whew.
Yeah, I missed it. I saw people's reaction on Twitter, but I guess they were saying that he didn't attempt to get out of the way. Is that what the call was?
Yeah, and he did stand there. But if you think about it, the ball's coming 90 miles an hour. This is going to play well for the podcast because I'm acting like I'm batting. If you think about it, what is your reaction? You don't, they want you to dive out of the way. But even if you do this, somebody did that too, like to block themselves after what happened to Teodosio last night. Don't blame them. Somebody did that. I think it was Teodosio actually in the Georgia Tech series, and his elbow and got hit, and they gave him first base. But the point is, it was a question mark. They had to go review it. And you're just like, protect it. The ball's coming 90 miles an hour. What are you supposed to do? It's stupid. It's just dumb, and it's not enforced the same way every time, and that's what gets me mad.
What's funny, now that I'm doing a little bit of umpiring myself for younger kids, although I'm doing over 35s this upcoming weekend, so that should be fun. Grown men yelling at me rather than little pimply faced kids. But everything
actually physically threaten you.
Yeah, everything is a judgment. Yeah. Every single thing you are taught as an umpire when a coach comes out and wants to talk to you to say, "In my judgment." That has to be your first 3 words. Literally. It's almost robotic. So I think what I'm learning as I'm reading more rules and some intricate details of things that have happened to me is it's all judgment, which is crappy because it should be cut and dry with something like that, right? A kid gets hit, he goes to first. I had a ball come hit a kid in the head. It was like 10-year-olds or something. I don't even remember the age, but glanced over the kid's head. He went around to get out of the way. So the bat came through the zone. Well, safety says, and common sense says, he got hit in the head. He goes to first. Opposing coach said, but he swung. I was like, no. But again, in my judgment, safety, send him to first. You know, he was trying to save himself from getting plunked in the head. It just grazed him. But good, it's so anyway. I don't necessarily side on this on the umpire side, even though I get paid to be one occasionally. But yeah, man, it should be cut and dry, and it's just not. It sucks.
Yeah. I hit a guy in the chest one time. I think it was Pony League. He was squaring around a bunt and he missed and hit him in the chest, and he started to walk to first, and the umpire called him out because he was like this, he just missed it. I mean, 13 or whatever. And he was the most shocked kid I can remember still seeing his face. Oh, it was hilarious. Except for the hospital bill afterwards. All right, basketball. Enough of me griping my old man get off my lawn. The basketball team signed a transfer from Youngstown State, Naz Bohannon, a 6'6". I don't know what he's going to be. He's another tweener for Brad Brownell, which seems to have a team full of them, right? I mean, they need a big guy, and we had Oglesby on, T.O. on, and he helped me see something, and he helped me understand what was happening with Clemson, why they shoot all the threes, because they don't have any big guys, right? They can't go in and compete with Duke and North Carolina and who at Syracuse and all those guys underneath. So they have to shoot threes. And here they are with another 6'6" guy. I'm not criticizing it. They need bodies, obviously, after the offseason and the guys that left for the draft or transferred out. But, man, I was hoping for somebody like 6'9", 6'10", but a good veteran player.
It was funny, too, when I was reading it. It sounded like Bohannon was a big guy, and the picture that they showed, it looked like he's a well-built young man. And so I'm reading the article, and it sounded like he's a banger. He plays down low. He's everything that Brownell wants, a big physical defensive player, and then it got to his size. So I had the same exact feeling that you did, that you're looking at it, you're like, yeah, all right, finally we're gonna have a little inside presence, 6'6", 245 or whatever he is. But he's a big built, kind of a Amir Sims type, but three inches shorter. So yeah, I feel the same way. I don't know if that's his style. I don't know if he just can't get impact guys that are that big. I'm not sure what the deal is on paper, other than John Chancey pointed out the other day that he other than his 59.7% shooting percentage from the free throw line, everything else looks great about him. But at least when I was in school and even a little bit beyond, he would fit right in with those teams.
Yeah,
they're a little better now. I mean, Alamir Dawes is a good free throw shooter. Nick Honor is a pretty good free throw shooter. Yeah.
Well, there was one year, a couple of years back, they led the ACC.
Yeah, I think under Brownell, they've definitely been significantly better to the old days where it literally lost games, especially in the Barnes era.
Yeah. Well, they're getting and I don't mean to crap on the guy. I don't know. Maybe he's going to be a great player and helps them. It's just like, we got like 14 6'6" guys, or Clemson's got 14 6'6" guys, or 6'4" to 6'7" or something like that. And,
well, it was funny because in that same article they were talking about Naz Bohannon. They were also talking about the David Collins, the transfer that's coming from University of South Florida. They said Bohannon's in the same mold that David Collins. So I'm like, sweet. So another 6'6", 6'7" kid. No, he's 6'2".
Same thing, Casey.
So I got fooled by the journalist who was telling me all sorts of stuff I wanted to read, except the size.
Yeah, I agree with John Chancey. He says, I don't think Brownell's style is particularly attractive to most recruits. And we can get into this maybe next basketball season.
Yeah, we'll get into it then. I got thoughts.
Yeah, and my thought is it's really, as a fan, this is a quick overview, and we'll talk about later, is really it's hopeless and fruitless. And because what wins in basketball is efficient offense. If you look at the stats I put out there on the college sports blog, you got to be in the top 5 to have a shot in the ACC, well, that too, the NCAA tournament or the ACC tournament. and Clemson's nowhere near that. So you can play defense till your brains out, and you're going to win some games, you lose some games. And that's why Clemson's so up and down, right? They're hitting the threes, they're winning. They're missing the threes, they're losing. There's nothing inside, and that's that for me. All right.
Now on to bigger and better news.
Yes. SouthernNewsReserve.com. I don't know how many people who listen to this will remember that at one time that was a live site, and it was mainly myself, Chris Cox, who goes by Tiger Commenter on Twitter, everybody knows him, and Matt Wilczewski. Those two guys now have young kids, which tells you why the website went away for the most part. But anyway, it got to be too much. We put out film reviews and original content. It was a lot of fun, but boy, it was exhausting. I had a long commute at the time, and those guys were young, and they were traveling and doing all kinds of things, and it just didn't work out. And so we shut it down. And the internet got to be the internet where everybody's complaining about everything. So we just shut it down. Now that I'm more mature and can handle the naysayers a lot better, we are going to bring SeldomNewsReserve.com back to life.
Woohoo!
Yes. Now, it's not going to be Clemson specific or Clemson focused. It's going to be college football and college sports. Casey likes to write. I like to write, and I'm getting some warm up, doing some stuff for JP over at Clemson Junkies. A lot of fun doing that. So we're going to have some original content. Hopefully Nelson will have some time to help us out. So if anybody out there wants to write about Clemson or college football or college sports, drop me an email or a text or whatever, a message on Facebook, and we'll see if there's a match. We're also going to have content from other sites. JP is going to let me put some Clemson Junkies on there. I'm working in the back channel for some other content, so there's going to be brand new content, brand new content, some of it original to us, some of it from other sites, mainly about college sports. Decided today we're going to have like a soft launch sometime in the middle of June, probably on my birthday, June 17th, which would be a Thursday after a Wednesday show that we'll drop the news. And then we'll go live on July 1st, which is kind of like my unofficial switch over to college football. When everybody starts paying attention to college football again, we'll have original content out there on SeldomNewsReserve.com.
That's fantastic. And I was a fringe SeldomNewsReserve.com the first go around, and heck, I didn't even know what Seldom Use Reserve meant. But I was definitely a follower. I was definitely a follower of the Twitter and the Facebook and all that. So this is exciting. And like you said, I do love to write if I can find time. I certainly have a little bit of a different style than some, but whereas I try to be more first person talking and more fun ideas. Heck, when I worked for the Tiger at Clemson, I never got a football game. I never got a basketball game. I went to more women's swimming and diving and golf and women's basketball and women's soccer. I did get a soccer game once to cover. So I had to come up with stories. They were great people. It was amazing. The first time I ever did women's basketball, Jim Davis, the old famed head coach, would call me in the dorm because we didn't have cell phones back then. I'm old. I'm dating myself. He would call me back in the dorm room after they were on the road and I had to watch the game at home and then call him for an interview. He would call me back and I'm like, who does this? Head coach is calling a kid to get, and he was fantastic. So always had to come from a different angle to kind of get people to read about the sports that they don't necessarily hear about. So that's kind of been my style. I've kind of adopted that through the years as I'm getting older. And Carl Forte was a swimmer at St. Lawrence University up near Canada. So I did do Clemson swimming and diving, which was a lot of fun because they do chants and stuff. It was really cool. Anyway, long-winded to say, I'm excited to be a part of the Seldom News Reserve website and hope to give you some fun stuff to talk about and hate and love.
Going to be a sporty-looking website. I'm working on it behind the scenes now. Like I said, original content. I'm glad you write in a different style. Give people a different view and a different style. Maybe some people like mine, some people like yours, some people like both, some people like neither. Nelson's I told Nelson he's also welcome to help us and write whatever he wants if he has time. With everything going on, he has been retired. But more than welcome. If anybody else out there that listens to this wants to write or wants to give it a shot or help us out, please feel free to, like I said, drop me a line. Either
all are welcome.
Facebook. Yeah, we want to make it a lot of fun and have a lot of different voices and a lot of different opinions. So that'll be coming like middle of June. We'll do a soft launch, then we'll have something a little bit bigger in July when football season starts again. Casey the Beef Cregan, my Friday morning breakfast is the chopped beef. Now, sometimes, it doesn't go well with the food. But I always laugh. You guys always find something to make a joke about that makes me laugh every single show. I'm not just saying that. Oh, and that's another thing. We're going to put the chopping beef on seldomnewsreserve.com. You can still download it like you normally would, but if you happen to be on seldomnewsreserve.com, you want to hear the chopping beef, you can do that. You want to hear 5 foot nothing, 100 nothing, you can do that. And we got the College Football 365 podcast on there too. You got a podcast about sports, football, whatever, want it on there, reach out. And so what's on the chopping beef? Oh, are you back to full staff this week?
Yeah, we will be back to full staff this week, although it will be our last show for 2 weeks. So it's not our last show ever. We're still alive and well, but we are this week, and then next week I got roped into making too much money umpiring old guys, and then the following week Locks is traveling. So we're gonna take a 2-week break to kind of rest, regroup, and figure out what we want to do going forward. As college football, because we kind of do some college football in a very different way than we do it here, but we're off the tracks during the off season, and most of the season, as a matter of fact. But we got some fun topics tomorrow. It'll definitely go off. Locks is back. Locks, who helps us out on this show as well. He is back. So we have to make fun of him for throwing his back out, putting a tee in the ground on the golf course. So that's going to be probably the majority of our show, is making fun of him tomorrow.
Well, here's a great thing about Locks. I think half the time he's not even trying to be funny. And he's the most hilarious guy with the mayonnaise and the whole 9 yards.
Well, it's funny because he's an only child. So I don't know if he realizes how funny he was growing up. So he's the same kid, throughout his life. And then he came, and now he's got an audience, and he gets it a little bit, I think. But his little one-liners that he throws in on our show, literally, the laughs you hear from me when it gets to the high, like hee, like that way, those are real. That is legit laughing from me. So yeah, we have a good time. We definitely have a good. It's an hour I look forward to, like this one, every week.
I don't know what you're talking about with the laugh. That laugh, is that the one you're talking about?
Oh yeah, that is legit, and I do that probably once a show with something with him. So
all right, at least. All right, Case, why don't you thank the people? We'll get out of here. It's been a late night for you, and I'm sure you have an exhausting day.
You didn't put it on here. I don't know what to say. Usually have a script. Thanks so much to everyone who listens and subscribes and likes to our show. We really appreciate it, especially Nelson Wilhite, John Chansey, JP Priester, everyone that comments, everyone on Seldom Used Reserve football discussion page, Seldom Used Reserve, Chop and Beef, yada yada. Everyone, Sluggo Podcast. We really appreciate everybody's support of this show. On behalf of Marty, Seldom Used Reserve Coleman, I am Casey the Beef Cregan. Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you next week on Sluggo.
You'd think after show 48, you'd have the out and down, and you did.
I almost did. Almost got it.
Pretty good.
I think we're done here.